Hello and welcome, beautiful souls, to Healing Beyond Words. I'm Narissa. I'm a holistic counsellor and art therapist. And something's come up this week that I wanted to do a little art therapy exercise for. And it's grief. And it's not necessarily grief of losing a person, it's grief of anything that you've loved and lost in your life. So this could be a loss of identity, a loss of time, a loss of health, a loss of business, job, home, relationship, friend. All those things that we love and lose in life can leave an imprint of grief. And I want to do a little art therapy exercise today to help you express grief, because it's something we all carry around and we don't even know. And if we're carrying a lot of grief, and I know I was carrying a lot of grief, and through my healing I had to release a lot. And it wasn't for losing people, it was for losing parts of myself. So I want to do an exercise that'll help you express that grief on paper. And it's an exercise that you can come back to if you feel you need to express something else. So we're going to do a grief release exercise called the shape of your grief. And in this exercise, we're going to draw a shape that represents your grief. And in that shape, we're going to put all the feelings, the emotions, and perhaps what you lost. And then we're going to create around that shape all the things that you may have gained, the strengths within yourself, the meanings that emerged from that, because we always learn something. You know, when life changes, when things happen, we can learn from it, and we can look at the negative or we can look at the positive. And I like to heal on paper too. So the first part of the exercise is expression of those emotions and that grief. And then the second part of the exercise is actually healing it on paper and finding the wisdom in it. For this exercise, I'm going to use watercolors to express my emotions through color and shape. And I'm using some magazines as well to cut out a few words and pictures, but you can just write words, you can do whatever you like to express. There's no rules here. Art therapy is about expression, and it's about the process over the product. So let's get started. So before I start any art therapy exercise, I always do a little bit of a meditation just to get into the subconscious, to tap into your intuition so you're able to express your emotions more freely. And so I just invite you now, if you like, just to close down your eyes and just take some nice deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just breathing in deeply into the belly and releasing through the mouth. And if it feels right for you, you can sigh it out as well, really telling your body it's time to relax. And just getting into a peaceful space inside yourself. Now dropping down into yourself, bringing attention to the space between your eyes. As you're breathing and relaxing through every part of your body, breathing and relaxing and focusing on that space between your eyes, with your eyes closed, relaxing down even further, and just bringing attention to the grief that you're feeling, the grief that you want to express. Just bringing to the surface what that grief looks like, what it feels like. And just feeling in your body where you feel this grief, and just breathing into that part of your body and releasing the grief from that part of your body. Breathing, releasing. And just bringing to the surface the things that you miss to do with this grief. And bringing to the surface what hurts, what emotions come up for you, what feels unfinished for you. What do you feel like you lost? What was taken away from you? And just bringing to the surface some memories around that time. Just watching and noticing, you're not there, you're just bringing it to the surface so you can express it in your artwork. Just really tapping into that grief, that emotion, and that expression. And see it all pour out of you, out of your hands onto the paper with words, shapes, colours. And now bringing to the mind the wisdom, the positive change that may have come from this, the love, the peace, the support of people, any meaning that emerged from this grief. Perhaps the way your life expanded, how you grew as a person, how you healed. The lessons you learned along the way. And what is it from this grief that you want to carry forward? A positive thing, moving forward. And feeling all this wisdom, this love, this support, the positive changes surrounding the shape of your grief now, healing it, and telling your brain and your body that it's time to move forward as you create the shape of your grief and heal it on paper. Now I just invite you to come back into the room and back into your body and open your eyes. It's time to create. So draw the shape of your grief and fill it with shapes or colours that represent that feeling of grief to you, what you lost, those emotions. And then I'm just sticking some magazine cutouts of all the things that I needed to express around that time as well. And then I'm painting healing colours around my grief, healing it on paper now, focusing on the wisdom, the lessons, and how my life changed after that grief. So this is my shape of grief creation, and I really wanted to use magazines today. I haven't done magazines. I don't normally like to use magazines, but I just felt like it today. It just needed a bit more impact. So I want to explain to you what my grief was about, just so you can understand a little bit more, I guess, about me and what this kind of means to me and how it's made me recognize actually without that grief and everything that went on in here, I wouldn't have had all of these changes and all of these positive things that have happened in my life. And look, I like to focus on the positive, and I do think it helps moving forward. So My grief was around in 2020, I had to have a hysterectomy because I had cancer growing in my uterus. And that was fine. I'd already had my children, so I didn't need it anymore. But it was a bit scary, and it was a major operation, and it wasn't that I lost my womb, it was all the things that came after that. So because it's a major surgery and I couldn't do any heavy lifting for a couple of months, I was an aged care worker before I studied to be an art therapist and counsellor, and I lost my job because I couldn't lift or help my older people around the place. So I basically lost my job. So I lost my womb, I lost my job, and then my beautiful dog passed away. And then because I'd had this major surgery and it had brought up all these issues around my mum, and I've always had a difficult relationship with my mum. She's very narcissistic, very abusive, and she didn't contact me before or after my major surgery, and I finally said I can't do this anymore. So I actually broke up with my mum as well around that time, and that was probably one of the hardest breakups of my life, but necessary. Yeah, so there was a lot of trauma and stuff that kind of came up, not just because of the surgery, but just everything that happened around that time. And I think sometimes when we have major things or even small things happen, they all kind of happen at the same time. Life seems to be like that. So that was my grief. So I just wanted to explain my grief just so you get a bit of a picture about me too. And then because I had lost my job, I decided that I wanted to study and I wanted to be a counsellor because I've always counselled people. I've always been someone, I was a hairdresser for 21 years too, that's probably why. So I've heard a lot of stories and I've held space for a lot of people through some pretty tough times. And then going into aged care, it was kind of more end of life stuff. So I thought, well, study counselling, and I didn't want to be a clinical counsellor, of course. I became a holistic counsellor. And then I decided that that wasn't enough for me. I needed something more, and I wanted to go deeper with healing, and then I studied art therapy. So without losing my job in here, I wouldn't have become who I am today. I was grateful that I had my kids. I changed my life, and through my study and through finding art therapy, I really did heal a lot because there was a lot of trauma that came up with this. A lot of trauma came up with mum, and just in that, it brought up a lot of stuff, right? So I healed my inner child finally and found my worth. I found self-love, and that's probably been the greatest gift of all, to be honest, and just finding the joy and the love. And I thought that by having this hysterectomy I'd feel less of a woman, but I actually feel more of a woman because not only am I nurturing other people more, I'm nurturing myself. And so, yeah, it's good to look at this and see all the stuff that I had to deal with and then how it all panned out. And I think it's good to look at that positive. And I think that's what helps us to move forward. So that's a little bit of a story about me. And I hope you enjoyed this exercise. And if there's anything else that you need to express, you can use words, you can add to it later, and if something else comes up, then you can express that too. And it's just good to get it out. See what's in it, get it out, put it on paper, and then it's out, it's gone, it's out of your body. And I'll put a few journaling questions in the caption as well, just so you can kind of go through and maybe go a little bit deeper with the integration of this exercise as well. So Thanks for watching, and I will see you again for another creative exercise.